Okay, so I was asking that our last topic was a pivot table, right? Before we
Yeah,
vacated for the year, it was pivot table. And I want to be sure that I concluded everything about the pivot table, if I could remember. I taught us how to create an interactive dashboard where we discuss lasers, right? Timeline analysis and the rest of them. Okay. So that day I thought we have rounded up Excel before I now remember that I have not explained VLOOKUP. In fact, not just VLOOKUP, lookup functions. So that is what we'll be focusing on today. So today will be the end of Microsoft Excel. So our next meeting will be on uh, introduction to Python. So we're going to start Python next week. So like I said, we are looking at Microsoft Excel lookup functions. And this will be our last topic. Microsoft Excel lookup functions. Just a minute. So Microsoft Excel what? Lookup function. Now, by definition, so I'm going to give us the general definition of this set of functions. There are three actually. We have let me list them under it. We have the VLOOKUP, then we have the SLOOKUP, or let's take horizontal lookup first. We have the HLOOKUP. And then finally, we have the SLOOKUP. So these are the three categories of lookup functions in Microsoft Excel. Every data analyst using Excel is expected to know how to manage. Now, just to give a general view on this set of functions, as the name implies, lookup. The first one is vertical what? Lookup, while the second one is horizontal what? Lookup. And then the third one, which is the X, is bi-directional lookup. You understand it once I'm done with VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Now, all of them, they are for searching for value. That is one constant thing about it. They are for searching for value. Now, the nature of searching for the value is what differentiates VLOOKUP from HLOOKUP. The VLOOKUP will search for a value in a vertical column. That is, for you to use VLOOKUP, your data must be vertically structured, just like this data now. You can see that you have the heading here, and then all these are vertically what? Listed. Not in the case where you have this heading listed here. Let's assume you have invoice here, and then you have a branch here, you have city. That will be what? Horizontal what? Structure data. Now, so we're going to look at what we actually achieve with this set of functions. We use them to build automated system that can be used to analyze data dynamically. So every data analyst that tend to use this function, the person probably use them to build a system that after building it, you can hand it over to the company. Then you will just tell them that all they need to do subsequently is just to pick a customer name and then to fetch all the details about that customer transaction. Are you following? It's just like this now. just like this, I can decide to say that because this is where I have unique value. Anytime you want to implement the VLOOKUP or the HLOOKUP, there must be a unique value. What do I mean by unique value? Your unique value is a column where you have value that are not repeated. Like now, you can't use this column for your VLOOKUP. You cannot also use it for HLOOKUP because the values that are here, they are not unique value. You can say that we have A here and we also have what? A here. But the whole of this data set, it is only invoice ID that is qualified to be used for the VLOOKUP that we are looking at now. Why? Because if you check here now, you will notice that no value is what? Repeated. They are all what? Unique value. I don't know if I'm communicating, sir. Are you here? Are you with us? Mr. Benjamin, hope you are with us. Mr. Benjamin, are you with us? We'll say network. Can you hear me, sir? Hello, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, let's say we want to build a data system. Design, this is a task given to us. Design a data system. A data system that analyzes a data system that analyzes customers details from the sales inventory. So this is the task that we are given. So it's going to be an automated system. Now, this is the data sets we are working with. What we are saying is that once we pick a customer invoice ID, it will fetch out the branch of that customer. It will fetch out the city of that customer. It will also fetch out the customer type, gender, product line, unit price, everything about that customer under each of the column will be called out once we pick the unique ID. That is what we want to do. So at the end of the day, we will just tell them that anytime you want to analyze your customer information, just select their ID. That is what we will just instruct the organization before leaving after we have viewed it. So they don't have to bother themselves, looking for all these other information that are related to that customer, because you must have achieved that with your VLOOKUP. Now, don't forget what I said earlier on. I said the condition for the VLOOKUP application is when your data is vertically arranged. So this particular data suits the application of VLOOKUP. So anytime you are given data sets, what are the criteria, or what is the criteria that determines whether you can actually use VLOOKUP on that data once the records are vertically arranged? Now, we are going to answer the question. The task is to build a system that analyzes I think this one. that analyzes customers' details from the sales what inventory. So these are our sales inventory. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create another sheet. And the intention of creating this sheet is to act as my dashboard. So this is where the application will be. So what we are doing, just like we are building an application, we are programming an app in a cell that will do something. And what is it going to do? Is to be analyzing what? The customer what? Inventory. So I will name it analysis. Pay attention, don't need distraction. Analysis dashboard. Analysis dashboard. So the first thing I'm going to do is to focus on building the application user interface. That is the first thing I'm going to do. Now, the application user interface is the interface that I'm going to present to the company that will allow them to be what? Analyzing the data from the sheets. Are you following? So this is our data, and then the app will be traveling to this data to be fetching any required what? Information for whoever this system will be handed over to. So what I'm going to do, just to build my app before I involve my function, I will highlight all the headings, because we know how to do that. I will copy them, Ctrl+C, and then go to my dashboard where I want to program the app. So I could just paste all of them here. Now, these headings, I'm going to use them to design the application interface. So I'm leaving this one here, and I'm taking this one down. You check what I am doing. I'm leaving extra what? Cell in between. There's a reason. My plan is that I can decide to put the value of this in front of it or what? Underneath. That is the plan. So and at the same time, I'm really trying to design the user interface. So I want 3 columns. 3 columns. So 1, 2, 3. So the next one should come here. So I'm leaving extra what? Column in case I want to display their values in front of them. So I just want to maintain this structure. Pay attention. I think that is the last one. I still have read. Now, we are still designing the application interface. So I need to describe this sheet so that anybody is able to know what this sheet is doing. So to do that, I will just go to my insert and under my illustration, or let's go to tests, write a word art test. Hope you are following. So the role of this app is called automated analysis. So you know what you are doing. Analysis app. That is what we are doing here. So let me go back to my home and format it just to make it look more presentable. Let me reduce the size. Then I will just put it here. It will be at the top here. Now, the whole of that part, I would like to fill it with background color. And then all I need to do is to reverse my text color to white. You can see it. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to format all the header uniquely so that they can easily be differentiated from the values they are going to what? Output. So I will select only the header, and to select only the header, what you are expected to do, let me shift them down a little. highlight across them and move down from the borderline. Now I want to highlight only the headers and format them uniquely. So I'll start by selecting the first one, then hold down the control button and select order. I'm only selecting the field names because I want their appearance to be different from the values that will be generated with the help of the VLOOKUP. So it is the VLOOKUP that will travel to the data and be fetching all their corresponding what information. And it will be regulated by invoice. Once I change invoice number, information will change automatically. That is what we are targeting. Now, I will now come here and choose a background color. And then you can just bold it. So let's say I'm using this to outline what the header. Now, where I am going to output the value, I would like them also to be formatted what uniquely. Let's wait for him to see if we will join back soon. Hope you are getting what we are doing. Now, what we are designing now is the application what interface. The user interface. It needs to give the user good words experience. They need to enjoy when they are what, they need to enjoy navigating around your window. So what we have done now is to find a way of differentiating the heading from the values that will be coming under them so that you can focus on the value different from what the field name. Now, where I am going to output the value, I'll leave it white like this because the color combination is okay, right? Good. Now, the next thing is for us to bring in what we call data validation. It's a function. Now, the reason why we are involving this function is because we want to create a drop-down data validation. Data what? Validation. So we want to create a drop-down. Now, look up. This is the idea. The idea is that I don't want the user to type the invoice ID by themselves because they might make mistake. And that will make the VLOOKUP not to be able to recognize what the corresponding value for the fields. So I want to restrict them from selecting from the option provided. Somebody will just click here and then pick instead of what manually what typing. So that is the reason why we are bringing what data validation. So data validation is to restrict user from entering value in a cell. That is the major work. In other words, if you are restricting the user from entering value in the cell, it means that what you must have provided what the user are supposed to type there, right? Good. Now, to provide it, check what I'm going to do. So I'll click inside that particular cell. And then, since I want the value to be here, let the value be under, right? Or which one do you think is better? If the values are in front or under? Okay, the value should be in front. I think in front would be better, right? So equals to, or without writing equals to, just click inside that cell, go to what? Data tab. From data tab, you select what? Data what? Validation. Then to pop up a dialog box for you. Now, inside this dialog box, this is where we are concerned. We are not concerned about the error message if the person is doing a wrong thing. That is not our focus. Our focus is just to program what? This. So we now come to what? Allow. So under allow, you say what? You want to allow what? Lists. Once you have done that, you will now tell a cell where are the information located. Remember that the information are located in what? Our data here. So I will just ensure that my cursor is blinking here and click on this icon just for me to go and collect what? The entire ID. So I will now come to this code invoice ID, then highlight and capture all the words, the record there. So if I want to give room for tomorrow, if I want to give room for what? For tomorrow, for example, if they enter additional information tomorrow, I want my app to automatically what? Recognize them. So for that reason, I will extend my selection from here so that we capture everything. So in other words, I have created what? Room for future entry. So if by tomorrow they enter another ID, my app will recognize it so that I don't have to come back and start what? My analysis was from scratch. I don't know if I'm communicating. Are you following? Okay. Now I'll press enter. And then you click OK. So you can see that what you have automatically what pulled all the values in our what invoice ID. So once I click a value here, by the time we are done building this app, once I click on a value here, the application will use the value here to travel all the way to this data set and fetch this ID corresponding what branch, fetch this ID corresponding what city, fetch this ID corresponding what customer type, fetch this ID corresponding what gender, till it fetches all the value to the last what field. That is the plan. Exactly. So at this point, data validation has done its own part. So we now bring in the Vlookup. So this is where we need what? The Vlookup now. So what will Vlookup be doing for us? Vlookup, we have already seen this. We already have this value. Vlookup, you will go to take this value and then travel to the data and fetch what? Other information. Since data validation have helped us to what? To get this value. You know, we are no longer looking for this value. Hope you know that. We are only looking for what? Branch, city, customer, down to what? Rates. But what we are saying is that there should be a criteria that the VLOOKUP we use in traveling to the data set to fetch other what? Information. Now, I want you to pay attention here, because once I'm done with this aspect, I will allow you to implement it. Now, here, I'll simply type equals to V what? Lookup. It will bring out what? The function. So once you have the function, there are parameters inside the function, which I've explained to us before. This parameter, for example, now we have what? Lookup value, comma, right? Table what? Array, comma, column what? Index, and the one in the square bracket, I told us that what is optional, right? Good. Now, what is lookup value? Lookup value is just selecting the cell where you have the what? The criteria that will be used to fetch other information. So this cell is my what? Lookup value. I don't know if you are getting me. Good. Now, what you have just said now is that this function use what is in this cell to go to the data set and fetch what? Branch. That is what we are saying. So that is why it will not fetch the wrong branch, because it is the ID that you selected that the function what we use to fetch it corresponding what? Information. Exactly. All right. So now you put a comma. Now your table array is setting a boundary, a limit, or a way of defining the area the function is expected to what? To search for the branch. So that will now take us back to our data and highlight everything. Highlight what? Everything. That is what? We have just set a boundary that you are going to search for branch from that app within what? This area. So you shouldn't search beyond this what? Selection. That is the table what? Array. Then you put a comma. Now, column index is this actual column where the value you are looking for is, the actual column where the branch is. Now, if you look at this, you know, we pick one of the ID here, right? So let's assume that this was the ID we pick. Now, we are saying that what? Where you have this ID that you pick that will fetch a branch from here, right? You count this as 1. So you count, if you are counting this as 1, what would this one be? 2, right? By the time the function will fetch city, what would this column number be? 3. By the time the function will fetch customer type, what would this column be? 4. So that is why I arranged the column in that order. So what we are fetching now is city, is branch, right? And the column index from the value that is used in locating it is 2, because we are taking where the value you are using to locate it as 1. So this is what? 1. Then where the value we are looking for is what? 2. So I'll type what? 2. Then you put a comma. So once you add your comma, it will not ask you, because it's a logical function. So it's not asking you for the first value. So if it could not find the value, what will Excel output? That is what we're talking about. I don't know if you're with me. You are sending a function, a message that what? Once I pick an ID here, take the ID from the app and come to the data set and search for the branch attached to that ID. For example, we pick this one there, right? Then it will fetch what? A as what? Branch A, right? If you pick this one, it will fetch what? C, right? Now, what we are saying that if the function travel all the way from the application interface to this data set and scan through your data and it could not find what? Branch A, what will it display? We say what? Display what? 0. So once you see 0, it means that what? The function could not see the what? The value. Are you getting it now? Then you press enter. Now it has fetched what? A. Now let's test run it. Let me change the ID now and see whether it will change. That ID is still what? Is still A. Still in branch A. You see that what? As I choose another ID that has a branch in what? C. You see that I brought out what? C. Are you getting it? But what we are looking at is that once you change this, it should not just fetch the branch. It should fetch what? City. It should fetch every other what? Information, not just one. So it means that you ought to come here and do that same thing that you did here. So you write equals to again, Vlookup, you start all those things. But to save your time, just copy this one. Just click on it, come here, and what? Copy the whole of what? The line, right? The function, copy. Then you press enter to execute it back. Then you now come and start pasting it all. Paste it for what? All the field. First, don't bother whether it's showing the same thing. We are going to edit them. I hope you are following. Because if not that I'm pasting like this, then I need to be writing what? The function in front of each of them and be tracing their column what? Index, which is like wasting of time. So let me. So once I have duplicated, I will now come here. Remember, here we use what? 2, right? So if it's going to fetch city, it will be in column what? 3, right? So I'll just click here and change that place of 2 to what? 3. Then to fetch the right information for me. Then here, I'll change here to what? 4. Good. Change here to 4. It will fetch the right what? Information for me. Then I'll change here to what? 5. You can see that it's actually saving us time, right? Instead of us rewriting the whole of that long formula. So here is what? 5. Abi? Okay, 6. Good. Once we type the wrong one, to fetch the wrong information. So 6. So what happened? What happened? Okay, I type a. Wait, let me put. Okay, I type 16 instead of 6. Good. Then here is what? 7. Please help me to be doing the counting so I will not make mistake. Here is what? 8. Why here is what? Then here is what? Then here is here is 12. Let me just add 1. Then here is 13, right? Here is 14. Here is what? Here is what? Now let's try, let's see it now. Let's change the ID and see whether other information what we change. See. So it's now automated. So what you just tell them is that once, anytime they want to view any of their customer details, this is the only place they should be touching. Then the app you are programmed, the function will be what? Calling the information from your sheet. Everything that is putting in that app, they are being what? Drawn from what? The data set. So we are implementing all to that place before we continue. The H lookup. Please pay attention, please. Now, in the case of Vlookup, is for us to first of all have our data sets structured horizontally. So we are going to transpose. That is, this particular data now, we will take it and switch it to a horizontal data before we can use what? Vlookup. So what I'm going to do here, so let me not use the whole data. Let me just take part of it just to explain the concepts around that, the Vlookup. So let me just create a different data. Let's say I'm pasting it here. So let's assume that this is the data we are working with. And we want to create an app like this, but the data set itself will be horizontally arranged. So the first thing we are going to do is to transpose. That transpose means we are changing the arrangement of the data from vertical to what? Horizontal. You can as well do it for what? From horizontal back to what? Vertical. So the first thing I will do, I will select the entire data set that I want to transpose. And then I will go to my home and select what? Copy. You understand? I'll select copy. Now, I will now select where I want to paste it. So let's assume that I want to paste this copies data here. And the one I'm going to paste will be what? Horizontally what? Structure. So once you have clicked on where you want to paste, you now go to your paste. Instead of using this normal paste, you go to what? Paste what? Special. Are you seeing it? Now, why? Because we are looking for this command called transpose. So click on this and select OK. You see what happened? It copied it and switched it. These are the headings. If you look at this one now, the headings were listed what? Vertically, but now they are listed what? Horizontally. So now we have been able to transpose. We have been able to switch from vertical data to what? Horizontal data, so that we can use the Vlookup. Because the condition for applying that function is that your data must be what? Horizontally what? Structured. Are you with me? So now we don't need this vertical one. We don't need it anymore. So we just delete it because I only use it to you understand? So I'm taking this one that we have, this one that we have derived, I have to take it up. I have to drag it up. So what I will do is that I will just stop at Vlookup, so that when others come, they will join us to finish the Vlookup. So it doesn't look as if they miss everything, but you should be able to practice this one before the next class. So we have all our ID. Now, so this is the main data. Then, just like the way we design this other application interface, this is the main data. Then we need to create the app, where the information that the app will be drawn from will be here. Then the app will be a separate interface, just like what we did the other time. So for that reason, I will just copy this. I will just copy this. Just pay attention. We're almost through. I will just copy this to bring it here. I will just copy this and paste it here, paste it here. Okay, the other one I copied did not go. Control C. Control V. So I'm deleting the whole of this, just like the way you arrange those headers. So now what we are saying is that we have listed out our what headers, right? And then we have their ID, which we use data validation to create a drop down in the case of Vlookup. Now, what we are doing is that once we pick an ID here, it will take that ID and go and fetch what? The branch in this column, fetch the city. So each ID has what? Has all this information to what? To be fetched out from the main data. So what I'm going to do here, I will type equals to H lookup. H what? Lookup. Now, if you look at the parameters, they are almost the same. The only difference is where you said column index is now what? Row what? Index, because we are dealing with what? Rows. Good. So your lookup value is this. That is what? Take this ID and go and fetch me what? Branch. Take this ID and go and fetch me what? City. Take this ID and go and fetch me what? So for each of the ID column, to be fetching what? All these headers what? Information from your data what? Source. Exactly. So comma. So your table array, you switch back to this data. You highlight everything. Highlight everything. Highlight from here. Okay, now. Okay. This is the branch. Okay. So highlight everything. That's your what? Table array, right? Then comma, your column index. Your column index is what? Is 2, right? Then comma, then 0. Then you press enter. So I think our selection is the reason why it did not work. Let's take it again. We selected it wrongly. I noticed that. So H what? Lookup. Lookup value is what? This, right? Then our table array will now be the selection of this. Our table array, we included this that time, abi? So we select what? Only this. No, we have to include the ID. That is why it's not working. We have to include what? The ID. Sorry. Don't know far. So let's do that. Each lookup, our lookup value is the ID, comma, then we'll come back to this. And then we include what? The ID. That first time I did not select this. I just selected what? This. So I need to what? Include it. Need to include it. So let me just select the comma 2, comma what? 0. So it has fetched it. You understand? So now this one has some AI than the VLOOKUP, because the VLOOKUP we have to start changing the column index number 2, 3, 4, right? But this one, if I autofill, it will automatically fetch the right information. If I autofill like this, it will fetch everything. If I autofill, it will fetch everything for without me changing the what? The index number, like the VLOOKUP. It's just that most people does not use what? HLOOKUP to build the app. They use what? VLOOKUP, because you can see the way the app is now. It's better with what? VLOOKUP than what? HLOOKUP. So let's quickly apply and then. Yes, of course. Before we